Our guest today is Pastor Keji Hamilton. For those of you who've lived in Lagos, who were regulars at Fela'S Shrine, the name sounds familiar. But what doesn't sound familiar to you is the pastor. Believe me, he is a pastor. He's here telling us his story, where he was and where he is today. His story is a story of that was then, and this is now. Today, as he tells us his story, the cocaine, the marijuana, the women, it just shows that God can take you from nothing and make something beautiful if you don't go away. You'll get to meet Pastor Hamilton as he tells us his story. My name is Udwak Abasi. Pastor Keji Hamilton.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Judy.
How does it feel to call you pastor?
Well, I feel honorable. I feel great because it was never my dream that I was going to be called a pastor.
How was it when you were Fela'S right-hand man? How did you even get to that point in the first place?
All right. Just like the story of life goes, I never knew I was going to end up in Fela'S place. It's quite a long story. What happened was that I was in school, University of Ibadan. I was reading pharmacy in my 100 level, and a young chap came up to me with a little book to read titled The Ancient, written by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, titled The Ancient of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The contents of the book says white man education is not for black men. And after I finished reading the book, you know, my mind was all messed up. And that talks about what 1 Corinthians 15:33 says. He said, do not be deceived that evil communication corrupt good manners. And before I said Jack, I just called my dad back home and I said, I don't think I need education.
So you left school?
I left school.
How did your dad feel?
He felt very bad. He felt very bad. So I got back home, and after a couple of days, he called me up and asked me, what do you really want to do now? And I said, I want to play music. And he said to me, wow, you can't play music. Can't you see what music I've done to that man they call Fela and Kuti? You know,
I mean, well, that was where you were heading.
That was not where I was heading.
Okay.
But when he mentioned that name,
it registered.
My mind just clicked. I said, well, if this man doesn't want me to do music, I'd rather go to Fela'S house. And that was how the journey began.
So you stopped the car and carried yourself to Fela'S house?
Straight off.
So when you got there, what happened?
So I went to Shrine. I met with Femi Kuti. And Femi, I told him my story.
What year was this?
1983.
Okay.
And so Femi took me home to meet with his father, Fela. And when we met, Fela took a liking on me. And he gave me a room upstairs to share with one delicious in me, who used to be Fela'S former keyboardist and ended up being Femi's keyboardist, but he's in England now. So I started staying in Calcutta. And as it was, the routine of Calcutta, Fela used to give us names, if you bear an English name or a Muslim name. But before he named me, I already chose a name because I was born a Muslim actually. I was born Suleiman. So I already picked the name Keji, which is a shortened form of Moron Keji.
At this time, were you already versed in the keyboard, or that's where you learned it?
I never played music before. I never played music. Well, how I got to know music is a different story entirely.
Okay, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
When you got into Fela'S place and he took a liking to you and gave you a name.
Yeah.
And coming from 100 level of reading pharmacy, what was life like in Fela'S Shrine, I mean, at the time?
Well, as a youth that was coming up, you know, young people like experimenting. So I saw freedom. But I've come to understand now that there are some freedom that are actually traps. You know, a freedom that cannot be controlled, it's bondage. I saw true freedom. I was free to do anything I want to do. There was nobody that was going to shut me up or say, sit down there and smoke.
So you were going and coming as you please.
As I please.
What was life like in the shrine? I mean, we get to hear, what was life like? The smoking, the drinking. Were you already doing all this before you got to the
When
shrine?
I got to shrine, I was not smoking, I was not drinking.
Okay.
I was introduced to smoking and drinking.
Okay.
All right. So getting to Calcutta, I wanted to play guitar, but I could not lay hand on guitar. And Femi gave me a guitar, but we had some fracas. He took it back.
What was your first experience with marijuana? Yes.
Wow, mind blowing. You know, I took this stuff. I didn't know where I was. I became very hungry, and everybody around me became very, very small. A kind of boldness came up me, and I felt on top of the wall. I felt I could do anything. You know.
And then it became little by little.
Little by little, before I know it became an obsession, and then later on, a couple of years later, when Fela was arrested by the Diagbon regime, somebody else introduced me to cocaine and heroin, which became the real source of my problem. That really took me to the other wild side of life.
Right. But at this time, you had started playing the keyboard.
I've not started playing the keyboard.
Okay.
Fela had a library that contains books. And I talk about books, I talk about occultic books, spiritual books, and some books on history, books on human rights activists in the U.S., Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Soledad Brothers, Angela Davis, and all that. And I had flair for reading, so I read all this. But in that library, I read a book, How to Become a Witch. But another book I read that taught about astral traveling.
Yes.
There were exercises inside. So there was one day I took one of the exercises, and I saw me leaving my body. And I got to the astral world, where I was introduced to 3 beings, and I was told that they will instruct me in music. Now, we were not talking.
Yes.
We were engaged in this, what they call telepathy, mind-to-mind communication. So I received instructions from 3 beings. And by the time I came back to my body, it was discovered that I spent about close to 72 hours out of my body.
72 hours.
I locked myself in, you understand? So I got out of the library, and somebody asked me, where have you been? I said, I just went in there, not quite 30 minutes. The guy said, no, we've not seen you for 2-3 days. So I ran down to my room, checked, and I discovered that it was 3 days ago, you know.
So when you now came back,
Yeah.
so could you now play the keyboard?
Play guitar. I started with the band with guitar, you know. So I went up to Fela and I said, I want to play in your band. He asked me, do you know how to play music before you got to my house? And I said, no. This was just about 8 months after I got it.
Yes.
And I said, that's not the issue, I can play. He drove me away, said, get out. I was persistent. The next day I came and I said, Fela, there's no point driving me out. Test me. If I fail, don't take me. If I pass, take me. So he called for the guitar, he tested me, I passed. So I became his guitarist. That was in 1984. So September of that year, we were traveling when he was arrested by the Diagbon regime.
Yeah.
And that's how the next journey to drugs and all that took place.
So how did you come about playing the keyboard now?
Now, when Fela was arrested by the Diagbon regime,
Yes.
Femi Kuti decided to form his band, Positive Force.
Yes.
And at that time, me, Femi Kuti, and Billy were staying in Femi's mother's house in Fela'S. And they wanted to form a band. I was called into the meeting, and I told them I can't do such a thing. That is better. I'd rather wait for Fela to come out of jail. That was not good. So that caused another fracas. So I didn't go with them. But Dele Shosimi was Fela's pianist, so he went with Femi. So I was thinking, if Fela comes out of jail, who's going to play the piano? So I had to teach myself piano using the guitar with earphone. I scored the chord on the guitar, and then I tried to finger it out on the piano. That was hard. And in 3 months,
You knew how to do
play.
it. You mean in spite of all the cocaine, the drug, you mean you still had that sympathetic heart to sing?
Oh yeah, because you know the book of Jeremiah said, before you were formed in your mother's womb,
I knew you.
I ordained you. I was bad, I was hard on the street, but people will also tell you that I used to defend a lot of people. You know, I don't like when somebody is cheated. I don't like cheating. I don't like when somebody is oppressed. There was this soft spot about me, and that was the God thing. Which, of course, if a man doesn't know that there is a vacuum in him for God, he will try to fill it with other things like drugs, sex,
And all that.
gambling, and all that, you know.
So when Fela now was released,
Yeah.
And he now came back. You started playing the keyboard.
Yeah, Fela came. When Fela came, he could not play for a while. He was dumbfounded because he was shocked that his pianist was no longer there and his son was no longer there. But I just walked up to him and said, Fela, don't worry. I'll play the keyboard. So he said, when did you learn how to play keyboard again? I said, don't worry, let's just play. So I kind of consoled him. And that brought us very close together.
The first day you got on stage to play, the first day you got on the keyboard, when he had maybe a concert,
yeah.
How did it feel?
Him?
You?
I felt great.
And you were high, I'm sure.
Oh yes, because before I go on, all the sticks of cigarette I smoke on stage, I all laced with brown sugar.
Hold the thought, hold the thought, hold the thought. Don't go away. When we come back, you'll get to hear how now Pastor, but then just Keji, will tell us how it was when he got on stage for the first time and the applause that followed. We'll be right back. I'm glad you're still here. Pastor Keji.
Yeah.
The first night,
right.
Opening nights.
That's right.
You were high.
Very high.
On cocaine, on mixed
cocaine,
everything.
Heroin,
okay.
Alcohol,
and then Fela was there.
That's right.
What did it feel like playing with Almighty Fela at the time?
On top of the world. Because this is somebody I used to hear about, somebody to the young people that looks like a god, because a man that can just talk about the president, talk against the government was like a god. And you see this little me, small boy, behind him, and I'm playing and making him happy because his keyboard is not around and his son would have broken his heart and he's weak, and I say, don't worry, I've covered the place. I mean, I felt on top of the world.
How long did you remain with him?
I was a Fela for about 13 years.
Were you there until he died?
No, I left. I got born again in 94.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. All right. What was life like in the shrine at the time? Were you living in the shrine?
You know, he gave me a room in his house.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Then I now chose to go to the shrine. Why? Activities were more in the shrine. In his house, things were not like the shrine. The shrine was the club. So
the house was normal.
It was normal.
Normal house.
Not normal like normal house.
Yes.
But normal than the shrine.
Shrine.
Because he lives in the house.
Okay, so you liked going to the shrine.
You like going to the shrine.
What was life like in the shrine? In the, not at night now.
Okay.
During the day.
Okay, during the day, people trooping in to buy smoke, they buy marijuana, you know. Both the elites, ordinary people, market women, area boys, meat sellers, and then people that work in banks. Some lawyers come, even some military officials come, you understand, to come and buy, and there are little shops, little counters where they sell hot drinks and all that. So just activities, like a market, 24/7. You know.
Then at night, what was life like at night?
At night, yeah, like a red light district, you know, especially show night. You know, see cars everywhere, a lot of crowd coming in, and then the whole shrine is lighted up with colorful globes and all that. And then the dancers and the singers, they're dressed semi-nude, you know, almost nude. And then the guys, everybody's getting high, preparing for the night show that will kick off at about 11 p.m., you know. So much.
And then, what was your father's reaction at this time?
Oh, my father was not happy. I did not set eyes on my father until after I gave my life to Christ.
And that was how many years?
13 years.
How about your mom?
Same thing.
By your brothers and sisters?
All of them, I was cut off. Because you see, in Kalakucha, when you come in, it's difficult to get back. Right? Very, very difficult. A serious matter, you know. Very, very difficult up to the extent that even if your parents come to look for you, Fela will tell you, wait, I will call your child. If your child said, okay, I want to go with my father, he can go. But if you say it's not good, you are not going to do anything about it.
So there was nobody, no child, there was no man, no son, no daughter that was held against their will.
That's physical. But you know, we are Africans. Something must have been done underground. I mean, it's not easy for somebody to, like me. I got arrested about 9 months after I got to Kalakuta. I was in the police cell. My father came to bail me. And they called me from the cell and said, your father wants to bail you. I came, I looked at my father, and I told the policeman that I don't know this man. It's not my father. You say that's normal? That's not normal, man. It's not normal.
Fela's lifestyle is something that we read about.
Yeah.
We've talked about marijuana aspect. We've talked about the cocaine aspect. How about life, sex, women?
Okay. Now, let me make clear here that Fela was not involved with cocaine or heroin.
Okay.
Actually, it doesn't allow anybody to do it around him, but I was the only licensed person because of how close I got and the position I held in the band. Marijuana, okay. Now, sex is a normal language in Calcutta.
Were they doing it as much as they were talking about it?
Yeah. I shared some women with Fela. I mean, girlfriends, you know, both home and abroad, you know.
And he didn't mind?
Sex was nothing. Sex was not nothing. Sex was nothing.
And then, I'm speechless. And then, after all the music, the dancing, and the show ends,
All right.
you slept in the shrine or you went home? Because of course, even if they finished, it would be in the early hours of the morning.
For many, many times, I was homeless. And many musicians, this is the truth that most people don't know. We're homeless. We go on tours, we go to Europe, we go to America, but many of the musicians were homeless. So that was why I got involved in drugs.
Playing keyboard for
Yeah.
Fela. Were you on salary?
I was on salary, but it was media. For instance, if I go on a Europe tour that will last 3 months, all that I will be paid will not be up to about $1,000.
For 3 months. How would you eat? How would you sleep? Were they?
There's allowance. There's allowance.
They'll provide accommodation.
Allowance for food, lodge us in the hotels, but the salary was nothing. It's like working on the mind of people.
And then
I've
finally,
never really had opportunity to say this. You know, I've never really had opportunities. That's why I said, that's why I'm saying that this is one of my best interviews. You know, because you are asking the right questions.
Thank you.
Most of the time, people just want to know about the music. Of course, Fela'S music great. I learned so much from him. His music, his discipline. Because if Fela wants to practice his keyboard, he can sit with his keyboard for about 15 hours. So
okay, there was discipline in the sense of when it comes to the job,
yeah,
the music.
Yeah.
But outside, the lifestyle.
The lifestyle was something else. But the lifestyle was targeted at something.
At what?
You know, it was targeted at the young people. A young man wants to be free. So when you decide to be a freedom symbol, the young people will like you. And then when you sing about freedom, when you are attacking those in authority, the young people will even like you more. People will even say that this is the right person.
What finally got you that made you decide? How did it come?
All right. That's the climax. Now, this was me. I left home a virgin. I wasn't smoking. Now, for 13 years, I've left home. I've become a cocaine addict, a marijuana addict, a heroin addict, a drunkard, a gambler, a thief that even carries a gun. I've become a rapist. I've been initiated about 7 times into different courts. You understand?
Yes.
And I've traveled far and wide, all over United States, North America, Europe with Fela, and I don't have anything to show for it. There was no peace. I couldn't live in my own house because I was scared they were looking for my head. I've done some crimes, you understand? And then here I was, perplexed. And then one day I was in shrine, somebody came to me who works with one of the police stations, and he said to me, look, they are planning to shoot you in the police station. And I said, for what? He said your name is appearing on the crime register too long, too much. Of course, I wasn't the one doing all the crimes. I had boys. I had my boys, Keji, very popular fella on the street, you know. And so, this guy, and asked the guy, what do I do? He said, you have to leave the Keji area. So then I was dating a prostitute, a whore. And the lady went to Uduelegba area to look for a room in one Akbeno street in Uduelegba. It was brutal. And she came back and told me, I checked the room, it was okay, air condition and all that. I started staying there. From there, I was coming to shrine to play. And then I had this little fracas with Fela. You know, somebody came up to spray him some money. Yeah. And I got wide there and said, is he only Fela that I'll be eating all the money? So I took all the money and I left. I went to spend it. And then he commanded his boys that the next time they see me, they should beat me. And I came a week later, they beat me, they almost killed me. I was almost dying inside the gutter. This, my right eye was covered, the left eye was covered. And it was the anti-crime police that saved me from their grabs, and they were all shouting, it's Fela that said we should treat him like this. It was after that incident I started thinking about God.
Hold the thoughts. Hold the thoughts. Whenever you're doing whatever you're doing, there's a time and a season. But when the time comes, when you need to make that turnaround, whether you like it or not, God will trigger a crisis. Don't go away, we'll be right back. You're welcome back. Words fail me because no matter how far gone you are, when God has a purpose in your life, you can't run away from it. Keji.
Yeah.
From all the stories you've told, from all the things you have said, being with Fela in that shrine,
All right.
being his right-hand man,
All right.
being loyal to him, I mean, at the fact that they left him when he was arrested.
Okay.
He must have seen you now not like an outsider, but as one of his own.
That's right.
How was it?
Yeah, a couple of times Fela told me he wished I was his son. But you see, there's something else I want to talk about. It's about the Saturday night show. It is called Saturday Comprehensive Show. Everybody that comes to the shrine knows that we start playing for 11, and at about 12:31, the music stops. Fela goes into the dressing room. We now have to make up with native chalk, white chalk, that they call Efu. Make up, and then the shrine where worship is done is open. And in that shrine, you have a board where they wrote the names of the gods. I remember all of them. You have Yemoja, you have Ogun, you have Shango, you have Shopmono, and others. You even have names of some great men like Malcolm X, Patrice Lumumba, Marcus Garvey, including his mother, right? Then he pours libation to these gods, then offer the chicken. And after doing that, he hands over these small gods, Igba, containers. One contains a shinap, the other one contains palm wine. He hands it over to me, and I collect it from him, and I give to every musician one after the other. They sip from each god. Now,
So we can call you assistant?
Assistant chief priest, because he was the chief priest of the African shrine. And what do you call that? What do you call that? That is mass initiation.
And what, being initiated into what?
Well, we cannot say, but since those are the names of the gods there, it simply means that we have been initiated as worshippers of all those gods.
So when you now finish and they have finished drinking and the initiation, what now happens?
We now play the comprehensive show where the girls dance really wild. You see nudity, you see all manners of things, all manners of manifestations on stage, which I will call satanic worship. When one Sunday morning, as I was coming in from the comprehensive show, as I entered the hotel room, as I slammed the door, somebody knocked the door. When I opened, there was a young man standing, and the young man said, "Let's go to church." I gave him a dirty slap. I said, "Are you crazy? What's my business with church? I'm coming from the shrine. I'm worshiping my own gods." So the guy ran away. When I slammed the door, he came back and put a trap. So every Sunday he kept coming like that, but this time when he knocks, before I open, he go and stand far. But he kept dropping the tracks.
Were you reading them?
No, I was picking them and putting them by the side of my table. But at this time, the girls that were living with me in that room were around 3 of them, 3 Igbo girls. And I was sleeping with 3 of them anyway. Okay? So one night I escorted them out, 3 of them. 2 of them hustled in the island and 1 hustled in Ilara and Ujuelegba. So after seeing them off, I branched somewhere in Ujuelegba they call Texas, where they sell cocaine and heroin. I bought some stuff, got back to my room, cooked the cocaine. As I was trying to hit it on the bunker, I heard a voice that said, "If you don't stop this lifestyle, you are going to perish." I didn't know what the voice was, because we were taught in Kalakuta not to be afraid. Fela popular saying, "Fear is not for man. Now go to the run, now man they stand. If you kill me today, no go possible tomorrow." But when I heard that voice, there was some shaking. But I ignored the voice and I took the blast of cocaine. But then I started vomiting blood. Then I remember that somebody had been trying to tell me about Christ. Not to forget that I started smoking marijuana with the Bible in Belgium in my hotel room. Which I
What, you used to tear the Bible?
I tear the Bible. Okay. Because I got to my hotel room in Belgium, it was winter time, there was no cigarette paper and it was cold. So I was looking around in the room to find paper to wrap the reefer. There was no paper. So I picked the Bible in the hotel room, 4-star hotel, and I tore it. I started smoking and I started telling myself it tastes sweeter. And from then on, I started smoking the Bible. You know. So, in that hotel room, when I saw that I was vomiting blood, I quickly went to flush the cocaine powder. I said, let me step down with the heroin powder. As I run in on the foil paper, I was still throwing up blood. I went to flush it. Then I said, let me drink. I ordered a bottle of stout. I took it, I was vomiting. Then I stood in that room and said, it's like they are trying to kill me. Maybe they poison all these things. But I remember that somebody was trying to tell me about Jesus. So there was a small Gideon International Bible there.
That you were tearing initially.
So I took off my clothes, I was naked, I took the Bible. I didn't know where to read. I've never read Bible before. But if it is Islamism, I can quote Fatiha for you. I was brought up a Muslim. So at that point, I now stripped myself, took the Bible, and I just said this casual prayer. It wasn't a prayer. I said, you this Jesus that I'm talking about. If it is true, there's only one thing I want you to do for me. Stop me from drug addiction, and I will serve you the days of my life. This was 7th May, 1994. Before then, I was treated in San Francisco. I was treated in Munich. I was treated in Scotland. All the bills were paid by Fela. I was treated for drugs.
Because he wanted you to stop.
Fela really wanted me to stop because I was an asset. There's no doubt about that. I was an asset in the African Shrine Keyboardist band. So, I finished saying that prayer. I didn't know what happened. It was about midnight. But when I opened my eyes, it was 8 a.m. the next morning. Quite unusual. It's never happened in 13 years of smoking. Before I sleep, I have to take so much dose, well over 10.
And for the first time?
For the first time, I slept without drugs. I woke up, I was shocked. I was waiting for the symptoms, which they call Johnson. I waited, and then something told me, if you try to eat, you will know, because a junkie cannot eat without smoking. But I ordered breakfast. I ate breakfast. There was no pain. I stood up. I walked straight to the joint where I bought the cocaine the previous day, and as I was entering, somebody offered me a spliff line laced with cocaine, and he said, Keji, take wagburo. I told him, let me tell you, brother, this thing you are holding, I will never smoke it again. And he said, what happened? I said, I can't really say, but I know I will never smoke it. It is now 14 years. It's going to be 14 years, 7th of May this year.
There's so much. We cannot take it in one episode. Make sure you don't miss the concluding part of Pastor Keji Hamilton's story. No matter what you are doing, no matter how far gone you are, know that there's a God who predestined you and called you to do what he has ordained you to do. Join us next week for the concluding parts of Pastor Keji Hamilton's story.
Nobody can hate me, I'm blessed.